Hey y'all, it's Diana. Okay, so you saw the questionnaire that I had coming up with the title for what we're going to call this segment where I tell stories. And it looks like Behind the Sign is the one that won, so thank you for everyone that voted. This is first one we're going to talk about. Now, you need to remember I got licensed back in 2003. And so the real estate world was a lot different then in regards to what the cost of homes were, and especially first-time home buyers. First-time home buyer homes back in 2003 were running probably about 100,000 to 125,000. So with me telling you these prices on this first story I'm going to tell you, don't be too shocked with that. So again, I was licensed in 2003, got my license in June of 2003. I would say within maybe 3-4 months in, I was working with this first-time home buyer. Now, if you have purchased a home from me as my buyer, you have probably heard this story. This is actually one of my favorite stories, and this is one of the ones that really make people just, oh my gosh, I can't believe it. And especially those that are animal lovers and you have dogs, once you hear this, you're going to be like, how could someone do that? So I'm showing this buyer of mine. We're looking at all of these houses, and she's just not finding that one. And I kind of would sit there and tell her, when you walk into it, you're going to know it's your house. It's really going to be okay. So we walk into this one house, and it was a really nice house. But as soon as we went into the living room, there in a dog cage, kenneled up, was a beautiful bulldog. I'm talking spitting image of Uga. So, you Georgia fans, you know what I'm talking about, okay? So this buyer of mine just like gravitated right towards that cage and was sitting there playing with the dog through the cage and talking to it. And she's like, I want this house. And I'm like, well, hold up. You haven't even walked the whole house yet. So she's sitting there and she's playing with the dog. She's looking over here and she's looking over here. And yeah, this is the house I want. I'm like, I know you want to play with the dog, but we're talking about your first home. Let's go ahead and kind of walk around and look at the rest of the house. So she's talking to the puppy and she's like, I'll be right back. I'll be right back. And she was just like adored with this dog. And of course the dog was really happy that he was playing with someone, being all caged up. So we go and we look through the house, and she's like, yeah, I want this. I want this. And I said, okay, well, we'll go ahead and we'll put in an offer. And we're sitting there and we're talking about it, like, what do you want to offer? And, and so we're going to leave. We're not going to talk here at the house. Let's go back to my office. We'll sit and we'll talk. So she practically cried leaving this dog. And I'm like, it's okay, but he's trapped up in that cage. And so we go back to the office and we're running the comps, and we're like, okay, it's listed at a fair price. What do you want to offer? And we're talking about it, everything that she wants to offer, any closing cost assistance, anything like that. And then she proceeds to say, and I want the dog. I said, what? She's like, I want the dog. I'm like, you want their dog? That's probably that's their pet. You want their dog? And she's like, yes. Didn't you tell me in one of the other houses that we looked at that anything's negotiable in real estate? And I said, well, yeah, I did tell you that, because that was what my instructor told me in real estate school. Everything's negotiable in real estate. So she's like, okay, well, I want the dog. So I was like, well, we can ask for the dog. It'll be considered personal property, but I don't want your feelings to be hurt if they say no. That's their pet. So the house was listed, if I can remember correctly, it was probably right around like 140, 145. So she wanted to put in an offer at 130, and the dog. Nothing else. I said, okay. So I wrote it up. I was really expecting the seller's agent to call me up and be like, what are you talking about? The dog. That's what I was expecting. I was new in real estate. This was something that was like totally blowing my mind. So we put the offer in. Couple hours later, it wasn't even like we had to wait the next day. A couple hours later, I get the counter offer. And the counter offer was they will give the dog if the buyer pays full price for the house. I was shocked. Shocked. Who would think that? So I call up my buyer and I'm like, hey, I got some good news. We have a counter offer. They will let you take the dog. And she's screaming. She's all excited. I said, but here's the thing. You know, you went in lower than list price. They said if you want the dog, you have to pay full price. She said, done. I said, okay. And I get the dog, right? I'm like, well, that's what they've agreed to. So we'll go ahead. We'll sign this counter offer and we'll see what happens. And sure enough, we closed in 30 days. She got the house of her dreams and the dog of her dreams. So everything is negotiable in real estate, no matter how crazy it is. So that is the first story that I wanted to share with you on this episode number 1 of Behind the Sign. And if you feel free to comment on this, let me know what you think. Would you ask for someone's dog? Or if you were a seller and someone asked for your dog, what would you say? I'm curious to know. I really want to know who else would be willing to give up their pet to sell a house. So let me know in the comments your thoughts on that, and I'll see you on the next video.